Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Premier League predictions. Mikey, I beat you 5-3 last time. No correct scores for us, though, but 5 outcomes for me, 3 for you. Let's know how you got in the comments. Mikey, what are your excuses for being beaten?
Well, they say that 13 is unlucky for some. And I think I was a little bit unlucky with one or two. But it just goes to show, while the Championship might be the most unpredictable league in the world, the Premier League isn't too far behind in terms of unpredictability.
Notice I'm playing the long game here. I'm not going to gloat for my inevitable defeat. So, we can keep things on an even keel. And we'll start this week. Play along, as I said, in the comments. I love this one. It's Burnley versus Sheffield United. It's first in the Championship versus second in the Championship. I feel I have an advantage over you on this one. So you tell me how you think this one's going to go.
Oh, Burnley, they just can't catch a break, can they, Ben? I think we both backed them to win last week. And after
I backed West Ham, and I was correct.
Fair play. I backed Burnley, and after 85 minutes, I thought I'd got that one spot on. But yeah, they conceded 2 late goals against West Ham. They're clearly really lacking in confidence, and they haven't picked up a single point, let alone a win at Turf Moor this season, which is crazy. That's just sort of known as such a difficult place to go. It certainly was for teams in the Championship last year. Looking at the stats, Burnley is just struggling out of possession. They don't make many successful tackles or interceptions. One really worrying metric for them, Ben, is the XG conceded. It's 23.6. Yet they've conceded 32 goals. So that could be a sign that they're a little bit unlucky. But yeah, they just seem to be able to just concede goals out of absolutely nothing. I suppose the only good news for them this week is that it's Sheffield United in town, who themselves suffered a bad defeat against Bournemouth at Bramall Lane last week. I'm going to put my neck on the line for Vincent Kompany here. I'm going to back him again, Ben. I'm going to go for a home win. The first home win of the season for Burnley.
What's the score, Mikey?
I'm going for 2-1 in this one.
Okay. I was going to call you a fool for backing Burnley. Now, I can only do that if I then back Sheffield United, can't I? Because otherwise I'm not putting my money where my mouth is. So I'm going to call you a fool because I'm an incredibly rude person. And then I'm going to back Sheffield United. So let's go for, I don't know, some miserly, horrible, sneaky 1-0 that will depress all the poor Burnley fans. I wish no ill will on Burnley. We loved them last season. But I will go Burnley 0, Sheffield United 1. Brentford v Luton, Mikey. I remember this game being 7-0 when they were both in the Championship. That first season, Luton are up. Now they're both in the Premier League. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I bet fans of Brentford and Luton never dreamed of this being a Premier League fixture, even just a few years ago. But both a fantastic example of how to get out of the Championship without parachute payments. And Brentford, of course, doing a good job of staying up there as well. Contrasting emotions for these two teams last week. Brentford conceded late to lose against Arsenal, whereas Luton scored late to beat Crystal Palace at home. A huge first home win for them. So they'll be on the crest of a bit of a wave. I think they'll go into this game with lots of confidence. Score lines are difficult to predict, as I've shown already, Ben, but we can at least expect plenty of accurate crosses into the box as these two teams lead the league in this metric. Generally, the Bees don't lose many games against teams near the bottom, but they've only won twice at home this season. Luton have Arsenal and Man City up next, so they'll be desperate to get something out of this one. And for that reason, I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I'm going to go for 1-1 draw.
I'm going to have to double you up, Mikey. I've actually gone ahead and written down some predictions today. So I am also going to go for 1-1. I think Brentford might take the lead and Luton might equalise reasonably late in the game. So we will double up on 1-1. And big thank you to Gavin on Patreon, who, speaking of those two Luton games, dropped his season ticket off to me. He's gone on holiday. I will be at both Luton versus Arsenal and Luton v Manchester City. And maybe you can let me know in the comments how many goals I'm going to see in those two particular games. Hopefully a few for Luton. Another dearly departed team, Mikey. I predicted 0-0 for Forest last week, and it was a 3-2. You got that one right. I didn't. Forest versus Everton, who we both predicted to win. And they got thrashed by Man United.
Yeah, that was a tough call, that one, wasn't it? Forest were rock bottom at this time last season. At this stage of the season, obviously, we were in the World Cup this time a year ago. But I get the impression that their fans aren't particularly happy being 15th this time around. They've generally been strong at home. I think that defeat against Brighton last week was their first home defeat in 8. And for all the emotion in the game for Everton against Manchester United, they were just blown away, weren't they? An incredible goal from Alejandro Garnacho, and they just never really recovered from there.
Don't call my name.
Lovely. The Toffees have been decent on their travels this season. Just ignore it. They've only lost twice.
It won't go away if you do that.
So Everton, Everton have generally been much better away from home this season, and they'll be really well backed at Forest. It's a great away end. You get the whole of that lower tier behind the goal. I'm going to go with Sean Dyche again. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for the Blues, but this is a tricky one.
Yeah, I'm just thinking how much I love Lady Gaga, and I'm not ashamed of it whatsoever. Do you know what? I think that's going to rock Everton a little bit, Mikey, last week. I know we said they'd have the wind in their sails. Let's assume the wind has been blown from their sails. I'm going to back Forest, and I'm going to back Forest in typical Stevie Cooper fashion to win with a clean sheet. Forest 1, Everton 0. And you're going to tell us about Arsenal versus Wolves.
Arsenal top of the league after that late winner from Kai Havertz. Remember him? He's been struggling since he signed for Arsenal. I think the size of the fee did surprise a few people, and it just seems to be weighing heavy on his shoulders. He did score for Germany in the international break, interestingly playing from left wing back. But he's come on away at Brentford and nicked a really important winner for Arsenal, which moved them to the top of the league. I think Gunners fans will be really pleased with the way that they're starting to come out on top in tight matches again. That was a hallmark of the team that did so well last season. Gary O'Neill's side were really unfortunate at Fulham on Monday night. Like, you've got to wonder how they didn't get a point there. Really unlucky with some pretty dodgy decision making from the officials and VAR. That being said, they lost 5-0 on the last day of the season at Arsenal, obviously under different management. And I think it will be a bit tighter this time. But I'm going to go for an Arsenal win. I'm going to go Arsenal 3, Wolves 1.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 3-0 then, because I was going to go 3-0. You talked me into it. Yeah, you talk about them being unlucky against Fulham, then they're unlucky with the fixture list to follow straight up going away to the league leaders. So I will almost match up your 3-1, Mikey. I'm going to go Arsenal to stay top of the table, then Arsenal 3, Wolves 0. Good luck with this one. I'm struggling already even looking at this. Newcastle v Man United is the 8 p.m. TV game. I'll openly admit I haven't got a clue, so whatever you say now is going to influence me heavily.
Well, let's take your pick, really, because both of these teams have enormous injury lists, Ben. And so neither of them are going to go into this game ridiculously high on confidence. And they're both in Champions League action, of course, this week as well. They both enjoyed wins in match week 13. Newcastle brushed aside Chelsea, which we didn't see coming. And then Alejandro Garnacho scored that goal, which we certainly didn't see coming for United Everton. And despite all the noise around Erik ten Hag, results-wise, Manchester United are actually doing all right. They're in good form. They're just 6 points off the leaders. And I know a lot of United fans are very high on the young midfielder Kobbie Mainoo, who made a big impact at Goodison, and they'll hope he can improve that midfield between now and the end of the season. As I mentioned, loads of injuries, but I think St James's Park is one of the hardest places to play at the moment, and an 8 o'clock kickoff under the lights as well. So for that reason and that reason only, I'm going to go for a narrow Newcastle win, and I've gone for the scoreline of 2-1.
I was just having a look as you were talking. They are in good form, Mikey. They've had nice fixtures. And then you look at the big L in the recent form, and the difficult game was against Man City, and they got thrashed. So for that reason, I'm going to join you. I'm going to back Newcastle. Let's go for some fun, and let's go 3-2 to Newcastle. I just assume that Kevin Keegan and Philippe Albert are still there.
Yeah, they are the entertainers, Ben. And yeah, like you say, it's a nostalgic fixture, that one, isn't it? It brings up lots of lovely mid-90s memories, doesn't it, of Eric Cantona and Philippe Albert and Peter Schmeichel getting lobbed again.
Oh, but in that other game, Peter Schmeichel saved out 6 one-on-ones, didn't he, when Cantona scored? Incredible stuff. Now, you might see a YouTuber with millions of subscribers and views a week driving a Bentley. It's a bit more modest, I have to say, when you're covering the Championship. So if you can find a few quid each month to support over on Patreon or by hitting the join button here, you are making the world of difference for myself, Shaylee and Enid. Right, let's move on. It's a double dearly departed one here onto the Sunday games now. Bournemouth versus Villa. Villa are brilliant. Bournemouth did take us by surprise, though. We both bet them I think we both had them to lose last week. Great win at Bramall Lane. What are you saying, Bournemouth Villa?
So this is the battle of the Basque bosses, Ben. All of the Bs. Bournemouth seem to catch me out every single week. And they certainly did at Sheffield United, as you say. A 3-1 win, but no goals for Dominic Solanke. Andoni Areola, he appears to have won over some critics. He's brought some credit amongst the Bournemouth fans, and they're playing some pretty nice football and now starting to get some decent results. Villa, on the other hand, they're only 2 points off top spot. We talk about the 90s, Ben. Villa up there challenging for the title.
John
again.
Gregory and Dion Dublin.
They look like the real deal under Unai Emery. And we talk about their home form, but obviously the win last weekend came away at Spurs. They are in Europa League action though, so I think on this occasion they'll probably be happy enough with a point at Bournemouth on Sunday. I'm going for a nice goal-scoring 2-2 draw. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you mention the other fixture, but I can't back against Villa at the moment. And what's this Ollie Watkins streak? That's gone for forever as well, hasn't it? So I'm going to back Villa, and we'll go for a predictable one. Bournemouth 1, Villa 2, and it's Chelsea and Brighton. Brighton versus Brighton reserves. But Chelsea goals. Yeah, plenty of narrative in this one, even with Graham Potter long gone. Mark Cucurella is suspended, but Robert Sanchez and Moises Caicedo will face their former team for the first time. Reece James is also suspended. So this is a good opportunity for Brighton to build on their victory at Forest. But again, Brighton are travelling to play in Athens on Thursday night, which won't be an easy one and could come with a little bit of a hangover. But I fancy Brighton to be really up for this just because of the narrative we've spoken about. You bloody love
Brighton, don't you?
I am quite high on Brighton, and I just don't really rate Chelsea at the moment. I just think they're so inconsistent. And again, yeah, this is up there with the biggest games of the season for Brighton. And I think they'll just edge it, and Chelsea will be back in a bit of a crisis after a 2-1 defeat at Stamford Bridge.
2-1. So Brighton stitched me up last week, so I won't back against them. So I'll go for them to get something, but we'll go for a fun old scoring draw. Maybe Brighton will take the lead a couple of times and Chelsea will peg them back. Let's go for a Desmond. Chelsea 2, Brighton 2. Liverpool, Fulham, that feels like a home win, Mikey.
Yeah, that one looks pretty nailed on, doesn't it? Liverpool had a decent draw and a decent performance away at Manchester City last week, and their fans will be fully expecting a comfortable victory at home to Fulham. But they could be without Alisson in goal, and that makes a big difference to them defensively. And Diogo Jota might also be missing, which limits their attacking options, although they've still got plenty of other options up there. I think they'll have too much for Fulham. It will probably have half an eye on their next home games against Forest and West Ham, which look much more winnable on paper. So as a result, I'm going to go for a comfortable home win. I'm going to go Liverpool 4, Fulham 0.
That's bold. I absolutely love that. I've got 4 goals as well, Mikey. I've got Fulham scoring. No, I just feel under Marco Silva, they've always been a really good attacking team. So I will go Liverpool 3, Fulham 1, but agreed with everything else you said in your rationale there. I'm struggling a bit with this one. West Ham versus Palace.
Yeah, I'm really struggling with that one. West Ham, as we mentioned, showed bags of characters to come back and win at Burnley. But spending their Thursday night somewhere even further away than Burnley and even colder, Ben, they're going to Serbia in the Europa League, which is going to be a difficult journey. I looked it up and it says that it takes 24 hours to get there, but then I realised that I think that was by bus. So yeah, it will come with a little bit of a hangover, I'm guessing, but yeah, maybe not as bad as a 24-hour journey. Palace will be without Ebra Eze, who went off injured again against Luton, but Michael Elise reminded us what he's all about with an incredible solo goal in that game. He'll be absolutely champing at the bit. The Eagles have a strong recent record against West Ham. They beat them home and away last season. I'm not super confident, but because of that trip to Serbia that I keep talking about, I'm going to go for a narrow Crystal Palace win. I'm going to go West Ham 1, Palace 2, but I am not confident on this one.
I'm not confident, and I haven't got my glasses out yet. So let's have a look there. 0-0. It's David Moyes versus Roy Hodgson. Don't you forget that. And no one's had a 0-0. Did we get? You said it was like 4 rounds since we had a 0-0.
Yeah,
we didn't get one last round.
It might be 5. I think it might be 5 match rounds or something since a 0-0. But I'm pretty sure the last 0-0 did include Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. So yeah, maybe a good place to go for that one.
Yeah, he will be very proud of that as well, won't he? So I'll go 0-0. And finally, Manchester City versus Spurs is the blockbuster Sunday afternoon match, Mikey.
Yeah, it is the blockbuster, but maybe not as much as what it looked like it would have been a few weeks ago. Tottenham were challenging at the top of the league, but in the space of a few weeks, they've now dropped right down. They've had 3 defeats in a row. Things are getting tough for Ange Postecoglou. Again, ever-increasing injury list. Rodrigo Bentancur was the latest to join it last week. Yves Bissouma will be back for this one, which will be important against that Man City midfield with the likes of Rodri and all of the other talent they have in there. Weirdly, Ben, Tottenham have won 5 of their last 7 Premier League games against Manchester City. So
that can't be right. That's ridiculous.
But obviously, they all came under a different manager and a completely different style of play. I think City have just got too many tools to hurt Tottenham and their high line. I'd have really liked to have seen this fixture just a few weeks ago when Maddison was fit and they had Mickey van der Ven at the back and everything looked great for Spurs. But yeah, I think this is probably a good time for Man City to be playing them. I expect them to return to winning ways here. I'm going 4-1 to the champions.
Yeah, I've got it loose as well because Ange doesn't care, does he? And it'll be pretty full on. I've got written down here, Mikey, don't laugh. Man City 5, Tottenham 2. I can actually see it being really loose, really high scoring. I know Kane and Son aren't together and they used to fill their boots in these games, didn't they? But I do still think this is a high scorer. Mikey, thank you so much as ever for joining us on the Premier League predictions. So as ever, if we do something like that, you can get involved in the comments, get your own predictions in. I mean, it's all fun and games commenting on ours, Mikey. But what are we going to comment back? All we're going to comment back is say, put your own predictions in. Get them in. If you click up there, well, I can't do that with this split screen like that. In front of Mikey's face, somewhere over there, you'll see last week's predictions if you want to catch up with them. And we will see you. We'll figure out what to do next week because it's a 3-game Premier League week. But we will be back in some way, shape or form, maybe in bumper mode.